Asiedu, Ekremet. In order not to waste time, I would like to invite Dr. Asiedu Ekremet. And yes, as earlier mentioned, if you've invited someone and unfortunately they are unable to join us here now, we'll be sharing our YouTube link because currently we are at our peak, our full capacity. So we'll be sharing our YouTube link on both our WhatsApp community page and in the link so that you can have access and share it with others. So Dr. Asiedu Ekremet, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ida. Good evening to everyone. I'll quickly load my slides, then we can start.
Okay. And as Dr. Asiedu Ekremet is getting her slides ready, please, the link has been shared in there. So you can share the link with others. Please, let them also get ready. Let them know that although we are full, our YouTube channel is also available where they can watch everything from scratch to finish. Yes, please, it's on. So, Dr. Asiedu Ekremet, please, the floor
So
is
good
yours.
evening, everyone. Yeah. So I think maybe to be fair, let me drop off with my other device so that I can make space for one person. I just wanted to make
Okay,
sure that,
thank
yeah,
you.
let me leave. Okay. Okay. So good evening once again. And after that very long introduction, even I myself, I'm scared. Now, so tonight we're talking about screen time and child mental health. And we basically want to understand what screen time is and how it relates to the brain development of our children and adolescents, and how it relates to their mental health as well. So this will be my outline. We're briefly going to talk about what screen time is and look at some recommended screen time guidelines. We'll take a little case, a fictitious person, and then we would talk about how screen time affects brain development, how it affects physical and mental health, look at some red flags that as parents we can pick, and also learn how to guide appropriate screen use among our children, then also know when to seek help. So what is screen time? So most of the time when we talk about screen time, people think about just the phone, like a smartphone, but it goes beyond just using that. And I must say that even though we're talking about our children and our adolescents, you realize that some of the things that we'll talk about may in some way relate to an adult. Yeah. So it's the amount of time that an individual spends in front of an electronic screen. So it could be a computer, a television, a tablet, etc. And the truth of the matter is that children in this era were born into a society where screens are everywhere. When we were younger, we had TVs at home, but some people had black and white, then became colored, you know, all that. And even trying to engage, we had strict times, but now children don't have to look far away to get a screen to use. And children today are termed as being digital natives because they're actually living in it. So I want to ask a question. I know that there's a parent roundtable, and this is not to judge anybody, but just to ask, at what age did you introduce your child or your children to a screen or to screens? And what was the reason for doing that? Was it to while away the time, for entertainment, to help them learn? And if you are able to reflect on these questions, then you could ask yourself, what is your child's current use of screens? Um, not to say I'm not guilty of some of these. I think for my daughter, my first, I introduced her to screens very early. It was quite convenient to say because at a point with no help, you could put her in a high chair, get everything done, do your laundry, cook, and come back and Coco Melon is still playing around. But there's been a lot of research, and there's still ongoing research into how these devices are affecting our children. And the reality is that there's a high use of so many social media platforms, and the academics, the schools now are blending um, screens, you know, with the traditional paper and pen. So you'd have a child come home, have to do printing, or I sometimes use YouTube videos. They're supposed to draw a horse. For Christ's sake, I don't know how to draw a horse. So sometimes they're very, short videos that you can actually go step to step and, do that. But in the midst of all this, parenting becomes very difficult because it can come with some problems. You may be a parent trying to limit your child's use of screen, but then you have extended family influence. You have maybe your mom coming, giving your child their phone, to keep them quiet, or even your house help or anybody around, coming, and sometimes this affects parenting decisions. And we already know that parenting doesn't come with a manual. So it becomes like a trial and error thing. But there's a lot of research still ongoing and looking at the effects of screen on our young people. And it's some are becoming like a public health it is a public health concern. So a few years ago, we'll know that there were guidelines that came up. They were very strict. So no screen for a child, and we're all like, hey, we're all guilty, we're all guilty. Um, but it seems like this year the guidelines are changing. Um, Sorry, I see a hand raised. I'm not too sure if
So
I
if
am
you have comments, concerns, or questions, kindly put them in the chat box. For those on YouTube, some were interacting with what you said. One gave a response as to 2 years. So for those of us here on the call on Zoom, please put your comments, your questions, your concerns in the chat box. When Dr. Ekremet is done, we would ask her all the questions. She would share everything, and then we can all get to interact. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. I wasn't too sure what to do. So yes, so the guidelines have been changing. So currently, depending on which source you go to, you would see that they'll say below 18 months, no screen. Some people say 0 to 8 years. So the below 18 months is for the American Association of Pediatricians, except for video chatting. You'd have 18 to 24 months. They'll say that they also should use like, um, you could introduce that digital media to them, but you need to be with them watching it. 2 to 5 years, 1 hour per day of quality programs, And when now the line from 6 years going, um, the recommendation currently, there used to be figures attached to it, but the recommendations are that look at the child, set limits, balance the screen time with play and with sleep. As they grow older, focus on healthy habits, no screen at bedtime, etc. And this type of screen use is being differentiated from what they do at school. So current recommendations are saying that consider the quality of the interaction and not just the quantity or amount of time the child is with the screen. However, other sources maintain the traditional up to 1 hour a day for 2 to 5 years. I mean, per the week. Then when you go over the weekend, you can do 3 hours. weekend, yeah, you can do 3 hours and things. Currently, the American Association of Pediatricians has something they call 5C. So it's a guide for, screen use, and we'll talk about that um, later. But what are children watching on the screens and what are they being exposed to? That is another question that we need to ask ourselves as parents. Because when we're able to answer this question, then we would be able to think about what exactly could be happening to them as well. So what do children watch? And when I say children, I don't want to keep saying children and adolescents, so it encompasses all of them. So some people may be watching cartoon channels, entertainment videos, YouTube reels. Some children play games, car racing, so it ranges puzzles, car racing, virtual reality. Other children are learning. Some people are learning a new language with maybe Duolingo Kids. They are learning hobbies, cooking, etc. Some children are reading, doing school assignments. Some are connecting with friends and family. Others are also, as they play the soccer and other things, they are betting or doing um, online gambling. And this poses an issue because it may expose our children to a lot of things which can be risk factors for certain mental health issues. So one, your child may be having advertising that you didn't solicit for, and there may be misleading or inaccurate information on the screen. I think I've encountered an adolescent who said, oh, they saw one of these adverts by March, you'd have this kind of body. So, I mean, as adults, we see it. So start training, doing your Tai Chi or what. And she was very, almost getting depressed because she had seen this information and she was trying it and she wasn't losing weight. Our children are being exposed to violence. So some cartoons and things, I used to monitor YouTube Kids when my children used to have a lot of screen time. I mean, I had to take it away from them because I realized that sometimes there's a behavior, you go back, you check, somebody is doing some naughty stuff and they are snickering, so the children feel that this is okay. Some children are being exposed to, self-harm practices and suicidal behavior. So if I think I'm tired or something, or maybe they're chatting with a chat box, I think many of us would have heard about a news where a mother in the US was suing a company because her son had used a chat box which encouraged him to, die by suicide. Negative stereotypes, sexual content. So cartoons, things are having kissing scenes, this and that, blah, 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 all there. And some videos may even inspire, very unsafe behaviors. Our children, if we're not monitoring them, may be exposed to, articles, videos, and stuff that can and may lead them to try a substance or something. And there's a lot of bullying now that our children are being exposed to, which also is a risk factor. There is physical bullying in our schools, which has become a concern in many parts of the world, including Ghana. And we are seeing children increasingly calm, being bullied physically, but now it's moving to, oh, they formed a WhatsApp group and they left me out. Or maybe somebody shamed me, etc., etc. On the page. Our children are also being exposed to predators. So people befriending them, maybe using false accounts and things. And I'm sure that as adults, some of us, you go on Facebook, you realize that you have a few mutual friends, you're not too sure. You're like, okay, maybe let me just accept this, confirm this person. Then the next thing you know, somebody is in your DM. Hello, my name is this. How are you? Can we talk? I mean, I have experienced that before. So you can imagine a child who may not be able to appraise the situation well. They may become friends, and some of these predators can be very friendly, build trust with them, then ask them, oh, could you now send me a picture of your hair, of your hair? And by the time you realize, some of them could even be, blackmailed, etc., all on the screen. And this can have consequences for their mental health. There are lots of fraudsters also on our screens now. So many people, oh, I went this, and all these people know how to build trust. And because the child's mind is developing, it's important that we as parents guide them, allow them to tell us what's going on to be able to help them better. So we'll take, so this is not a real patient, it's like a constellation of, just this is an imaginary child. So apologies if it probably fits well with somebody you know or your child or something. So I want us to keep this case in mind as we discuss the effects that I don't want to say excessive screen time or I mean screen use can have because some people use it for a short while but still may have certain predispositions. So this a 10-year-old boy whose grades have been falling in school. Um, he's spending currently 4 to 6 hours every day on gaming apps and YouTube. He started using screens at the age of 9 months. He was an early reader, so he learned how to read very early, and he used to speak with a foreign accent. In school, his teachers realized that his handwriting is not the best. He's not able to write well. His wrists feel a bit stiff. When his laces become loose, he's unable to tie them well. And at home, parents realize that he becomes very irritable and sometimes, so he gets angry very easily and can sometimes be aggressive when you take his device away from him. Currently, parents have also realized that his sleep has decreased because he needs to be on the gaming platform to play with other people, get points, and be able to learn other skills and things from YouTube. So parents are in a dilemma as to what to do. So this is a case we keep in mind as we discuss the effects of screen use, excessive screen use on our children. I don't know how many of us saw this news. A colleague of mine sent it to me that, now Denmark, maybe I think 15 years ago, they started introducing screen in the school, but now they were back or going back to the basics. So they wanted their books, they wanted their handwriting to be well, pencil and paper, and they had to now pay the price for it because they were going to spend a lot of euros trying to control this behavior or to change this. So what are the effects of screen time on a developing mind? So we're not saying that screen use is bad because from the beginning I said that sometimes you can use it for learning hobbies, skills, etc. And we know that the relationship between screen media use is complex. So you may not have a linear relationship that the more I use my laptop, the more I use my phone, I get this and that and that. It's a whole mix of, so it's not proportional to maybe like the frequency and even though in some people it may look like that, but it's quite complex. So um, having a direct causality can sometimes be challenging. And screen use can be beneficial to a child's, brain development. They can learn new things. They can be creative and all. However, there are lots of studies, and these studies are still evolving. Like I mentioned, guidelines for screen use was very strict, maybe like 3 years ago, but currently that is changing a bit, even though we're still trying to put numbers and things to it. But it can have um, a detrimental effect on the child's cognition, so the child's intelligence, problem solving, etc. When we talk about sensory motor development, so um, children are supposed to explore, or children explore a lot. So what they do with their hands, what they touch, and how they explore their senses around. Excessive screen use can affect that and their educational outcomes as well. Sorry, my slides are not moving. Okay. So what does screen use do to the brains of our children? So the brains of children continues to grow until like mid-20s, and usually the frontal part is the last to sort of develop. There's an area we call prefrontal cortex, but that's the area that's responsible for our attention, our impulse control, our judgment, our organization, and this matures later in life. So the child's brain is always seeking new things and rewards. And this part of the brain is also involved in something we call the reward system of the brain. So when you do something which is pleasurable, the brain sort of learns or is motivated. That system, the reward system, it regulates our motivation, it regulates learning and feelings of pleasure. And there's a release of a certain chemical when you do that, similar to when if you eat or you take a substance of abuse, that same chemical is released. And children are sensitive to rewards and stimulation. So if a child begins to play games and things and all, and they're getting stars, they're getting this, they're getting that, it sort of keeps them going for more. But we also need to note that a young brain still needs real life play and interaction to be able to develop well. The parts of the brain which may not be used, um, those cells would often not develop adequately. The more you use a part of the brain, the better it becomes. So what does all the digital stimulation do to the child? Sometimes it overstimulates this part because the child is not able to, tell that, oh, I need to stop doing this. I need to, because that area of the brain that is controlling all that is still developing. And sometimes there's reduced attention and emotional regulation. And like I mentioned, their motor skills, so fine motor skills like holding a pencil and brushing their teeth, tying a lace, and buttoning their shirts, etc., can be affected. Also, there may be reduced vocabulary and communication skills because this child is always in front of the screen gaming. And funny enough, sometimes they are playing games with people that they don't know. Recently, I said that, oh, I want to. Sometimes I realize that, oh, maybe I want to do something. I quickly forget. Then I remember later. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not doing things to keep my memory. So let me start playing Scrabble on my phone. So, times when I'm tired or things. I want to play the Scrabble. So I downloaded the app and they're asking me if I want to play with other humans or play with a computer. So I chose to play with a computer because I mean I don't know who is on the other side of this app who is also playing and you want to go and have, um sort of like a competition with them. Creativity can be decreased with excessive screen use. So what are some of the physical and mental health effects that screen use can have? So when a child is constantly, um, on a device, there's no physical activity. So there's reduced physical activity. That can lead to obesity. Obesity, so like they put on too much weight and their body mass index goes um more, or their weight for height goes more than their age group. And it can be associated with a lot of changes in the body, so control of the sugar, blood pressure, etc., later in life. There can be eye strain, headaches, and currently there is something called a tech neck. So, you are on your device, you've bent down your head, and the neck becomes a bit stiff, the shoulders are a bit tight, there's some upper back pain and headaches, etc. And this all can affect the posture um, of the child. So, and this is true for adults as well, because you go to a function and you realize everybody is this way on their phone, and ultimately it may affect the neck as well. So, in terms of the effect on the mental health of a child, there can be sleep disruptions. So the blue light that usually emanates from devices interfere with the production or the release of a chemical which helps us to sleep. That chemical is called melatonin, and it makes you feel like you are still awake. So you're on a screen and you don't feel sleepy. So sleep can become problematic. I gave an example of an adolescent I met who was having issues with her body because she had seen something that said, oh, in 2, 3 months, you would have a very fine body, etc., etc. So there can be poor self-image and body image issues from what they see on the screen. We've talked about how sometimes emotions can become difficult to regulate. So behavioral problems, um, aggression, other we'll talk about externalizing behavior. So those are like behaviors that you see outwardly. So impulsivity or maybe, you know, um, trying to lie around something still, all those things that um not obeying instructions, etc., because you've taken a device away. There's a lot of comparison. People will sit down, adults inclusive, checking the number of likes they have. There's a lot of online pressure. My daughter once told me that, oh, um, her friends, they have a WhatsApp group. So they discuss things there. And like, one, you don't have a phone, you're not getting a phone. If your friends have a group, then it is my number you will add. My son is in class 2 and he says, oh, my friend has iPhone 17. This one has this one has that. So there's a lot of pressure. And children may feel that they are being left out if you don't manage it very well, and may start comparing themselves, and it may lead to, anxiety. It may lead to depression as well. Cyberbullying, name calling. We'll talk briefly about cyberbullying because I think that it's important, you know, can predispose somebody to have depression, being excluded from a group, and being blackmailed with maybe a nude or with flirty messages like screenshots of things that somebody took of the child's conversation and all, can have a lot of stress on the child and may predispose. I'm not saying that um, there's the concept of resilience. So somebody may have these adverse life events, but may still be okay and not have a mental health condition. But this is a very big risk factor for our children. And they also are like attention deficits like behaviors. So reduce attention span, impulsivity, because the brain is used to novelty. The reels are very short, and these social media things are done in such a way that it keeps new things coming, so you don't feel bored. So the child does not feel bored. So it's just going, 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 going. But if it comes to me like schoolwork, you need to concentrate, then that becomes a problem. And sometimes they're addictive behaviors. So similar to behaviors you would have. So we'll talk a bit about that as well. Similar to behaviors that you would have if somebody were taking a substance. And we realized that most of the time, the gaming and the gambling. So now you don't have to go to a little kiosk to stake something. It's right on the phone. And children can be very competitive, and adolescents especially. So we are betting on this, now maybe Premier League is going on, World Cup is going on, so which team is going to win, etc. And the most interesting one I heard, they said it's called Aviator. I actually went to look at a YouTube video because I hadn't heard about it. You put your money in and you watch an airplane flying. So the higher it goes, your money multiplies. So it can go, but if you don't take care, that airplane vanishes and your money is gone. And people people can have acute stress reactions like, wanting to harm themselves, they've lost money, etc., because of this. Our young adolescents in the university selling their laptops and their tablets, to get money to do other things because they are gambling. And this is a concern and this should be a concern for us parents. So I wanted to talk a bit about cyberbullying because I feel that even though we are seeing a lot of children physically being bullied, cyberbullying is becoming a thing. And this happens to children and adolescents. It happens to adults as well. So insults and threats, spreading rumors, people being humiliated, people's pictures are edited and, people are being trolled, sort of. And there's something they call doxing. So I don't have your consent, but I'm putting out your personal details, your phone number, your home address, without your consent. And sometimes people sharing people's private photos, which is concerning. And sometimes people, impersonate others, befriend you, befriend the children, and now begin to, spread rumors or even mock them. So when should we become concerned? We're going to look at some red flags. Then I'll be rounding up soon. I don't know how I'm doing with time. Okay. So sometimes your antenna has to be high when you realize that the child's behavior is changing. So constantly there's conflict around the device. You're watching for one or you're playing for 1 hour, but every time that agreement is not kept, there's always conflict. Um, Emotions are being regulated with the screen. So the child becomes upset until you give them that phone. They can't cope without it. They're always craving. And these cravings, the urge to just use it, it's similar to what people have when they use substances and sometimes they become isolated and more importantly, interfering with um their function in society. So their school work, their home chores, all these are being affected. So in general, we need to, as parents, look out for severe irritability. So irritability is getting angry very easily when screen time is being limited. Anxiety without the phone, so they're always, panicking, always anxious until they get the phone. Declining school performance, loss of interest in offline activities. So everything they're interested in is a screen. Sleep problems and fatigue, including daytime fatigue. So the child is sleeping in school a lot because they're staying up too much. They are not associating with people. They are always, sneaky behaviors. So uh, maybe come, they put a cloth over your phone, they take it away, maybe stealing small money to go and get something, some momo, or paying for art and things on your phone like that. We need to be concerned about it. I've picked to speak about red flags to look out when the child is anxious and when the child is depressed, because sometimes um, we tend to miss some of these symptoms. So if a child is worrying excessively about maybe their friendship with somebody, um, or about school, or about their safety, so we've had issues where the school, somebody, they're all in a group and something happens and there's that anxiety about a particular person. We need to be concerned about that. When children are having physical complaints, so every time it's my tummy is aching, my head is aching, you've gone to the doctor, you've done all the things that you're supposed to do, but they're saying that, oh, the tummy is fine, or even sometimes bodily pains. You need to think anxiety. You need to think, could this be anxiety? Could this be depression, etc.? The child is always restless, having difficulty relaxing, or they're having avoidance behavior. So, sometimes when children are anxious about something, they want to cope by avoiding. So I'm not even going there for, my heart to start beating or anything, refusing to go to school, but they are always okay when they are home. We need to have a look at that and think, could this be something, especially if it's related to things that they've done on the screen or people they've interacted with on a screen? We need to be cautious. Then also sleep problems. So my slide is not moving. Okay. Some red flags to pick up for depression. So persistent sadness, or maybe they're always crying for several weeks. That's more than 2 weeks. Sometimes, depending on the age of the child, they may not be able to say, I'm sad. They may say, I'm empty. I feel bored, use certain words. You need to pay attention to them as a parent, and things they used to enjoy if they've lost interest in doing that. If they're always complaining, I'm tired, they are sleeping too much or not sleeping at all, or eating too much or not eating at all these things. And if they're withdrawing, and especially when they start talking about, oh, this life is some way, oh, but why should I be alive? Or maybe you see them actually trying to harm themselves, it should cause you to want to seek help for this child, especially if it's connected to, um, I mean, in general, you should be concerned about it, but I'm saying that these red flags, if they're connected to something they're doing on the screen, then you need to solve it both ways, because whatever may be the cause has to be addressed. What are some of the red flags that we need to pick up when it comes to screen addiction? So a loss of control, they're not able to stop. They can't limit their screen use. They're always getting angry when they go offline. Without without a screen, they're always jittery, and they always have to come back to the screen before they are able to function. They are being secretive, their mood is changing, irritability, anxiety, all linked to this screen use. We need to be concerned about it. Then sleep disruption, we've mentioned, physical strain, so headaches, a poor posture. So this constant use, the mind is such that once you do something and you enjoy it, it keeps wanting to do more, and it's able to change. There are certain things in the brain that are able to change so that you need more of that particular thing to now achieve the same effect that you had on a smaller dose, so to speak. So they are neglecting their meals, their academics, everything, all to be on a screen or all to engage in some FIFA or something. Then we need to be concerned and think, could this be um, screen addiction? So how can we guide our children and adolescents in using their screens? So um, this guideline, which is called the 5 C's of media use, is from the American Association of Pediatricians, and it's a guideline for screens. So the 5 C's, the first one is child, the second one is content, the third one is calm, crowding out, and communication. So every child is different and unique. How would this media use affect the child? And the content, I mean, would it harm their well-being? What content is it that you want to give to this child? You need to consider that. The third one, calm, it means that the device should not be the only way to calm the child. So you need to find ways around it to see how you can engage in other things to calm the child instead of using a screen. Then crowding out, sometimes using a device too much may crowd out other people. So the screen time shouldn't replace family time, but you need to sort of balance it out and let them sleep, let them play, let them do some hobbies, etc. And the last C is communication. So you need to talk to the child depending on their developmental age. So this guideline is actually based on the developmental stage of the child. I think I'll share the documents. I downloaded them. They have different documents from 0 to 18, like we looked at the 0 to 18 months, 18 2 years to 5, like all that 18 to I think 24, then um 6 plus, etc. So all those guidelines, then your teens and everything is about how can you use this 5 C's in a day to day. So tailor whatever media content you want at home to the child's developmental stage, like I said, um, and connect with the child. So ask them. For me, if it's not homework, my children got some screens as gifts maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I had to seize them for maybe like close to 2 years until maybe now vacation. I released it small, small. School going time, no TV, etc. But you need to, depending on the child's age, you need to be able to talk to them and know that if you are using this, it is for your homework. Because children are very smart. Sometimes we underestimate children, and they can be very, very smart. So, what can we do as parents? We need to encourage healthy habits. And we need to learn about parental control. I used to go through YouTube Kids, things that they watch and all, block some channels, do this, do that. But it was becoming tiring. So I just took the course of it away. But I think as parents, we need to learn some of these things. Many of us are not tech savvy, including myself, but we need to learn to protect our children. We shouldn't use them as babysitters. And sometimes getting close to bedtime, we need to take them away. And we need to set these limits before the conflict happens. So that it's not now that in the heat of things you are coming to reason with a 10-year-old. It may not work. Yeah. So is your child mature enough to have a device? You need to think about that. What is your child watching? There are times that we may need to sit with them and we may need to sit with them and watch. How are these things? And I mean, apart from this, the devices, we need to encourage them to do other things. So music, art, hobbies, reading. The books are becoming expensive now, but keep buying. The colors, they will spoil them, keep buying. The paints, they will mess it up, keep buying. But let's allow them to do other things that will enhance their creativity instead of just being on a screen. And we need to teach, especially our adolescents, about online safety and privacy matters. So, like I mentioned already, there are predators there, and they will befriend you, say all the nice things to get a child to trust them and start demanding. And some may even want to blackmail that child with whatever information they've um, gotten from them. So, I mean, some of these things that we're saying, it may work for one person, it may not work for another person. So it's not, we're not doing a blanket statement here. Know your child and know what will work for them. What works for one child, even in the same family, may not necessarily work for the other child. So we need to be able to vary how we do this with our children. So when and how should we seek professional help? We've talked about red flags, and sometimes when you see some of these red flags and you put in measures, the children can change. There's some children that you seize their devices and within like a few weeks, they've forgotten that they even had something called a tablet or an iPad or anything. So if these red flags are not going away, we need to seek help. Observe the child's mood, their behavior, etc. Is the school reporting that this child is having issues which are consistent with something related to a screen or a device? We need to take it seriously. The first point of call, we can see a pediatrician, we can see a mental health professional. I think for other places, you may see a family physician actually, and the right referrals will be done. We mustn't wait for um, things to get out of hand before we want to seek help. Depending on what the issue is, connected, what the mental health issue is with the child. There are various options that can be used, and once you seek help, these options will be made available to you. Some of them include play therapy, family-based interventions, because sometimes parents actually have to be trained, um, to enforce certain limits and be consistent in their ways and etc. Medications only when indicated, usually for children and adolescents, um, many of their conditions, we start with the psychological methods, and as and when it is necessary for medication to come in, we do that. So in conclusion, um, screens are tools. They can be used to enhance a child's creativity, intellect, etc. But we know that the content of things that our children are being exposed to can be risk factors for developing mental health problems. We've spoken about body image issues, we've spoken about anxiety, depression, addictive behavior, sleep disruptions, etc. With the new guidelines and things going on, balance and supervision are essential. And being consistent as a parent is also very essential. Let's watch their mood, their behavior, and not just the screen hours that they are on. And we need to know that early support is always good, it's always better, and it leads to better outcomes. So, on this note, I would like to say a very big thank you to you all for your attention, and we'll take comments, we'll take questions. I know that some of my colleagues are here, so I'm doing this with my colleague psychiatrists who also work at Mission. So we'll be willing and ready to take your questions. And I'm not promising you that I can answer all the questions because, like I said, I myself, I'm still doing trial and error in my house. Today, if this one fails, I try another one. My remote has been missing for a lot of years. It was recently found, but it is missing again. Sometimes TV cord can get missing. So I'm hoping that this interaction will help us all balance and supervise screen time um, for our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ekremet. We are appreciative of everything. And I must say, with I know we appreciate everything that you've helped us get to understand and learn here. Because on our YouTube page, we have over 264 people watching, and they are also showing their appreciation. So I'd like to start from there. Lucy Apia says thank you. The Must Know Truth says that's you're also welcome for sharing what you've shared with us. I know someone's hand, oh, and all the emojis and things you see on the screen is just to say thank you for everything that you've done for us for now. So, the appreciation keeps on going. Gillian, Rejoice, Joyce, Emmanuel, Beatrice, Vida, Rashida, everyone is showing appreciation for that. So now that we've talked about appreciation and all that, for those who have comments, concerns, and all, this is the time. And I know Emmanuel is already ready. His hand has been up. The very moment you said, so you are done, his hand came up. Emmanuel, you would be given the opportunity to also share your comments or ask your question, whichever one that you have for us this evening. So please, you can unmute and then we'll stop sharing the screen and then would listen to everyone. Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this great presentation. My name is Emmanuel. I'm a lecturer at University of Energy and Natural Resources. Actually, I'm very interested in child development and helping parents to raise up children to become responsible. So I think screen time is very, very important, and all that our presenter said are true. Research has shown that the screen is actually affecting our children, especially when they are young. And I'm thinking that we need to, as parents, we need to take this very serious and make sure that, especially within, I always keep saying that below 2, don't introduce your child to any screen. Actually, it's good that parents can buy books with hardcovers and let them play books with pictures. I think that will build their brain connections rather than just introducing them to the screen. So basically, I want to just thank Madam for this great presentation, and I want to encourage every parent that our children are our greatest assets. So let's all try to make time and help our children to grow and
Thank,
become responsible adults. Thank you very much.
thank you too so much, Emmanuel, for sharing your thoughts on that. And I have a question here from Vic that I would like to read out. Um, it says, I vouch for not eating in front of a screen for physical, mental, and social health support. What is your recommendation?
Thank you very much, Vic. I think I had that on one of the slides. I think I probably overlooked it. So some of the things that we as parents can do is to establish screen-free times, which includes family meal time. And that includes parents also not using their screens because children are very observant. We need to model for them. And sometimes when you are eating in front of a screen and you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you may actually even overeat,
Um,
you know. So then, I mean, you wouldn't even, the brain center is also responsible for letting you know that, oh, you are satisfied and other things can be affected. So I think that meal times should be as much as possible preserved. It can be difficult. We've seen rules that somebody brings a bowl and collects everybody's phone before they go to the table. As funny as it may look and sound, I think it's a very good recommendation because physically predisposing to overeating, obesity, you're not even, concentrating and you're not interacting. That's the other thing because being on a device, it wouldn't let you even interact with the child. And that also, I mean, interaction we've said and play are very important for the child's social emotional development and well-being. Yeah.
Okay, so since we've gotten a comment from here, I'm gonna also go to our YouTube page where Fatima was saying that she plays Roblox and gets to meet random kids who bully her and blackmail her without provocation. And that makes her aware of what other players are also capable of. So I think it just goes to buttress the point where Dr. Ekremet mentioned that yes, there are several people you get to meet online that you may not even know. You get to have interactions with people, you have no idea who they are or what they do and all that. But then in the end, there are still things that we should learn to teach our kids, our younger ones, whether old or young, help them understand the potential dangers, just as she mentioned earlier in her presentation. And aside that, let me also go back to YouTube. There's a question here. So someone wants to know your thoughts on this. Is it J Life Ministry? The person says that in the area of therapy for neurodiverse children, some therapy approaches thrive on reward systems. As such, screen time is also being used as a reinforcement to get them to finish task. What are your thoughts?
Okay. Thank you very much. So yes, like I said, children's brains thrive on novelty, thrives on reward. If the screen is being used as a reward for maybe like a good behavior, there's usually a time limit to it. The key is that there must be a balance. So yeah, sometimes I even do that. So you finish your homework, we do other things. I can give you 30 minutes to do something watch a recipe or do some coloring on the screen or something. So yes, it can be used, but it has to be balanced because um, consistent sometimes when you use also one thing as a reward for too long, it may lose its purpose. So I think that varying it's good. But my thoughts are that yes, you can do that whilst you've regulated and supervised. Yeah.
Okay, so Abna Ifa also says that she is grateful and she enjoyed the session with her children, and they crawled out quietly when the thank you slide came up. She is saving this interaction and would want to revisit it later. So Abna, thank you for the feedback. And Dr. Ekremet, you see the audience that you have aside those of us here on the call on Zoom. So let me go back to our Zoom, and there we have Messi, who is also asking for what is the recommended age for kids to start using tablets safely.
So I think that from the presentation that I did, um from 6 years going, it's set to balance the use, So you are watching some of them, you are supervising and making sure that what they are doing is beneficial. 2 to 5, it was 1 hour on weekdays supervised, then 3 hours weekends supervised. So I think I'll share. I downloaded the 5Cs. I downloaded for all the different age categories. So I can share it with Ida so that it's shared with parents as well.
Okay, so we'll get to post it on our WhatsApp community page where you can have access to it. You can also send it to others, let others also get to learn from today's webinar. Aside that, there's a question from Rejoice. Rejoice says she is grateful for your message, but please, blocking channels and putting password on app, does it really help? She wants to know if it helps.
So yes, it could help. I think I mentioned that I used to monitor my kids' YouTube kids like their history. And you see the way the algorithms work, the more you dislike something or the more you block a certain channel or something, it makes sure that less of that comes in. That's what I mean, I'm not a tech person, but that's what I realized that the same way as if you the adult, you started searching for shoes on
Mm.
Instagram, you will see a lot of adverts for shoes coming up. So though that's how the algorithms are, built to meet your needs. So I keep doing that, but like I said, I personally got tired, so I just took the screens away. So that we don't have to be going over and over. But I think it helps if the child does not know your password, but know that children are smart. You are doing your password, they are watching. I have to change my password several times because then somebody say three, unconsciously you didn't know they were observing, but they're actually learning there. Yeah, so that could also help. Yeah.
Okay, so then there's also this question from Joyce, who is asking that does screen time result in delayed speech?
So we get this a lot. So there are studies to show that I mean, children need back and forth
Mm,
interaction,
mm,
yes, in their speech and language development.
mhm.
So I mean, being alone and not talking and being on the screen. I mean, there are some studies that show that it affects their speech and language a bit, but once that is taken away, it develops. But we shouldn't confuse that with a child who probably has a condition in which there's a speech impairment. for you to link it and say that this is like a causality. So it was a screen that caused it. We hear it a lot. Oh, it was the screen that I gave that now my child has autism. It is a screen that I gave that my child has intellectual disability with speech. We hear it a lot, but to make that direct causality, I think it's a bit far-fetched and a bit, you know,
Yeah.
dangerous to say. Yeah.
So then, as we always say, whenever you are in doubt, please see your medical professional. They
Yeah.
know what milestones your child is supposed to be getting to at whichever point in time. So, as parents, you are the first point to notice when something is not going right, or you feel that something is not going on as it's supposed to be. So, when you have that, please quickly go to your medical professional, seek for help from them, ask them all the questions. They would do all they need to do, and then they would get you the help that you require or you desire. Then I would have to jump, but I must say that for our people on board, you can raise your hand. We would ask you to unmute, and then you go on and ask your questions. It's an interaction, so don't worry. For those on YouTube, they keep typing. I would have to read it out from there. But for those of us here on Zoom, please, you can unmute yourself. You can ask all your questions, and then we go on. Now, Salome, sorry, Pearl Salome is asking that um she appreciates all that you have given, but for schools that use screens to engage children, could you share some details on the right time or the right age to be able to do that?
Oh, this is a PhD question you are. This is a PhD question that you are asking me. I don't know if the answer that I'll give would satisfy, but the guidelines are saying that, I mean, screen for educational purposes. Because you see now, uh, many educational systems, the child has to be on a Chromebook, an iPad, something to do some work. And if you don't get your assignment done, you are losing there. I know that in crutches, like I said, me, I've done before, Coco Melon, I can sing almost all the songs when you are tired and you want to engage them. But that's not the best because they have to play.
Yeah.
Play is the occupation of people in crèche. They sleep, they eat, they play. They get up, they, do ABCs. But there's good educational content out there on the screen. So you can also say that because you want to over limit the screen, so you won't. Some children learn how to say rhymes and ABC and things from an educational content on the screen. So if you say that I should, this one, the GES will come and beat me here, or they'll come and but I think that the balance should be there. The balance should be there because crash there, sleep, eat, play, small screen.
Okay, so the balance is always needed wherever we find ourselves. And that is, I think this question and your response tallies with a concern that was raised here on our YouTube channel. Karen was saying that in a situation where almost every assignment has to be researched on these days, what would we do as parents, as educators? Or no, this one is mainly for the parents. So as parents, what do we do to be able to assist our kids? So just as Dr. Ekremet has said, balance is crucial. So please, let's make sure we learn where to draw the line and
And
what we need to do.
yeah, I think to add to that, sometimes you need to supervise because I use my children again because they are the experiments I have at home. They'll be like, "Oh, when we're doing this, so you give them a laptop, by the time you come back, if you don't count the hours, they finish the assignment,
Mm-hmm.
they bring back to YouTube.
Yes.
Aha. So you are trying to be smart about it, but they're also thinking ahead. So
Mhm.
if they're using it for their assignments, let's make sure they're using it for their assignments. Otherwise, I mean, I know it's difficult. I'm not saying I'm not the perfect example. I'm still, doing things, but you need to supervise them. Otherwise, then even they can even leave their assignment and get distracted by something else. Because they may be watching a video on YouTube to learn how to draw something or to operate the computer or something, and an ad will pass through. Or they
Yeah,
keep scrolling and looking down, and the next thing you know, they've gone to that thing instead of doing the assignment. So it's a lot of work. It's a
mm.
lot of work, but I think that you try, you don't succeed, you try again. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep trying. We'll keep finding ways around our things and what we need to do. Lucy on our YouTube channel is asking that how can she take her toddler off the screen?
Okay. These are very so like I said, this is not a one size fits all.
No.
You can try decreasing the time that the child uses. Because sometimes, cold turkey like that uh, can also be some way. So like you take it away at once. I did
Yeah.
cold turkey. It was chaos because I then had my nephew also with me. His was quite so his was, but we managed. And they
Mm.
forgot they had screens at a point. But I think that the gradual one is better. If you are trying something and it's not working, there are specialists who know about child behavior, how
Yeah,
to do a behavior intervention for something like that. So you can always seek that help as well. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So, Nathaniel was asking if it is okay to use the iPad as a reward to help his kids, to complete their homework. And I think you answered this particular question with a similar one that was asked earlier. And with respect to the reward system, the same thing carries through with this one also. And the key or the underlining factor is that we need to be balanced with whatever that we do with them. Yes, you can use it, but as Dr. Ekremet also mentioned, if that is going to be the only reward system, then please start looking for other rewards. Start thinking through other things that you can use to help your children also, because there are several things that can be done to support them, not just with the iPad or the screens that they tend to have. Stanley, Dr. Ekremet, would you want to add something to it before I go to Stanley?
I think you've rehashed it rightly.
Okay. So Stanley was asking if he could get the slides. Actually, Stanley, this is on YouTube, so you can rewatch it. You can send it to others. You can go over it again and again for as long as you need to make your notes out of it. It's here for you. So please, it's going to be here till. So please do make use of it. And there was something else. Okay, so I don't want to miss this particular. Is it Ziop is also saying that I want to get the beginning, but I'm not having it. So I'm just going to read what I see on the screen. Little time I have for myself. So what other activities can he? I think there was something before this, but I am not getting it. Okay, so I'll try refreshing the page. Then I come to Zoom. Then from Zoom, I would go back to it. Zoom, we have two questions in here.
Little time for themselves. So, what activities can they also do that requires little
Mhm.
supervision? I think I see that he spoils most of his toys and even he enjoys coloring. He gets bored easily.
Yes,
I think I get a sense of
the
because as a
question.
parent, you also don't have enough time to do all the supervision.
Mhm.
And that's what I think, well, I'm assuming this question is about, so what other things can you do that involves little supervision? So there are lots of games and things you can use. I've seen that you've tried coloring. I said the coloring, they'll break the colors.
You
I
mentioned.
they will paint, they will repaint and spoil it.
Mm-hmm.
The books, we still keep buying books. Currently, my daughter has read like almost all the books I've bought. So now they're exchanging in her class, which I think is a good idea. And I'm sure other parents must be as happy as myself because we don't have to buy all the books in one series, but
Yes.
they themselves have decided that, oh, I have this one, you don't have it, let's exchange, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can, but sometimes they will fight. So I like sometimes when I'm working, I like to work whilst they're still, so I'm on my laptop, but they are still in the area. They will fight, they will do things, but I think that the long-term benefits, think about the long term, that they are playing, they are interacting, but maybe sometimes they are spoiling things, they are doing that. The long-term effect is, I mean, it's good. Momentarily, we would all be suffering, but then at least the puzzles, the pieces will get missing. You want the box back. They may not understand Scrabble depending on their age, but still let them do something. Just today, so funny enough, yesterday my children we had hidden their tablets again, and I was looking for their shirts for AU Day, and some of them were small. So I'm like, okay, then maybe if we don't find anything online, I'll sew a top for you. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a seamstress, but I'll look at something and sew. So they're like, oh, let me get the sewing machine. And lo and behold, they found it. It is currently here. They just came before I started this that, oh, they want to learn how to draw. Blah. I said, use your imagination. I said, but I don't know. Let them use their imagination to draw whatever they want to draw. If it turns out not to be the horse or whatever that they intended to, they've tried to do something. Yeah. So as parents, let's also try and be maybe creative about it. And like I said, it's not difficult, but let's try.
Okay, so we'll keep trying. It's a try and error. You would make sure you pick it up gradually. And Dr. Sifa was also adding up to the screen reduction, and she's saying that you can have a gradual reduction in the screen time, and that would help your toddler. Um, yes, that's it with that. Ophelia is sharing her frustration in terms of the screens that the kids are supposed to use to complete their assignments. Unfortunately, we currently live in a digital world, and yes, everyone is supposed to be tech savvy, but it would be a challenge at a point in time. But we always need to learn. That's why Dr. Ekremet added that it's not a one size fits all. And it doesn't mean that the fact that you've been able to achieve this today, you would be able to get it every single time. We are always learning how to work with them, how to help them understand things. And even as adults, we are always changing. Our thoughts, our thinking processes, a lot comes in here. So that's one thing that we also need to be mindful of. Okay. Um Hannah was also sharing her frustration with a child who plays roadblocks and she doesn't know what to do. So, Hannah, Dr. Sifa has mentioned something. Dr. Ekremet has also added that please, you can try all the suggestions that has been given in here. And that is something that I know gradually you would be able to find the balance. You would be able to know how best to help your child. Um, Clarice is saying that I think as parents, we can intentionally engage our children. It is difficult, but we can try. It can be rewarding and help bond better. Oh, okay. It can be rewarding and help you bond better with your child, which is a good one. All right. So, in coming back to our Zoom, Beatrice is asking that how can we balance educational screen time with the risk of overuse?
Okay, so I think I've seen the full question without our children feeling that they're being punished, and because all around them, their friends are using it, and it's been normalized and approved as an easy way out. So I have the same concerns at home, but I tell my children that that's their house and this is our house. And if you get to use it, it is for something. The last time my daughter and her people were planning something, they are 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds. They give our numbers, one gave her mother's number, and we, the parents, did the calling around and sorted it out. In my house, she can't be in a WhatsApp group. No, we haven't gotten there yet. So I think that depending on the age of the child, let the child understand
Yeah.
that it's not like I'm punishing you or anything. But you as a parent, you have your own goals, if that is what some people have phones for educational purposes. So that is the purpose of the phone. When you are done with it, it goes back. There's a lot of conflict with parents and adolescents, especially over their phones and things, and not to let them look like, you see, some of them may not understand, but that is the rule in your house, and you need to be consistent. As they grow older, if they are able to dialogue with them, explain it to them and see how that goes. Yeah.
Okay. So then with Beatrice, who just asked the question you have been answered in here. Aretha was asking how long a child should stay on a screen a day. I think in your presentation you did mention using the American Psychiatry Association's one, the 0 to 18 months, how long they can be on and all that and all that. Please go over it again, Areta, unless Dr. Ekremet would like to add up to it. But you can go over the slides, or she would look for the particular one and then help you understand. And that is even a recommendation. And one thing that we are also advised is that these things, they keep changing. From certain ages, it was 0 to 2, no screen at all. But now another one is saying that from 0 to 18 months, even with that, it should be like a video call interaction, not you are leaving the screen to the child to have it on their own. And that's why we are being warned, because there are several studies and several things that people have done to be able to know its effects on our children. So let's find out which particular one would best suit your need, and then you follow through with it. Dr. Ekremet, if you'd like to add to it.
Yes, so I think that you've said it. I was trying to find the links and drop them in the chat as we go along. So I'll quickly do that and drop some of them in the chat.
Okay. All right. So for those who are asking for some things that they can do to support their kids, Dr. Sefa is also adding up that aside the books and things, you can also allow your kids to play with others in the area. You remember the hide and seek game or pilolo? These are games where the body gets to exercise, and it also takes away the aspect of screen time. Dr. Marvel also added that for those who were born in the 70s, there were literally no screens at the time, which is true. Yet there were lots of outdoor games, outdoor activities, fun things that they all did to help themselves. So please, if you are struggling to find something to do, let's look around us. Let's find out what we can use in our environment, where whatever setting we tend to find ourselves in. Look at the things there, and then these ones can be something that you can use to replace the screen. Okay, so as Dr. Ekremet posts the links to the various sites that she was mentioning in there, If you have any comments, I think I saw a hand up, but then quickly brought down. I don't know if the person wants to ask a question. But if you would want to ask a question, you would want to share a concern, you want to say something, please, you are allowed to do so. And yes, James is mentioning that as parents, we need to read some of the books we buy for our children, which is very, very important because sometimes they may look like kid-friendly books, but the content is something that we need to be very careful of. So please, do not just pick anything and give out. Go through whatever you want to give to your child. Make sure that it is truly age appropriate and it is truly something that would benefit your child. And by doing that, you are saving yourself and the child from a lot of stress that would be coming up later. So aside that, we also need to bear in mind that, okay, let me read this comment before I share my thoughts again. So Benes is saying that it's all about balance, everything in moderation. We should let our children know their identity, that you are not what your friends say who you are, or you are not your friends who are doing other things. You are the great and beautiful you. Oh, okay. So Franklin is saying that he's also waiting for the links on YouTube. Franklin, please, we would post it here on YouTube for you so that you can also have access to it. So as those on YouTube also get access to their links, thank you for reminding me about that. I think I forgot. I am sorry about that. Let me just copy it and share it there. And yes, I'm going to read a comment here. Edwina is saying that it was great growing up in the 70s to the 90s, just as Dr. Marvel has said. The downside for the millennial children is that there are not many safe playgrounds. Children and parents have long hours in traffic and in school, and we do not even know our neighbors anymore. Which, yeah. But in the end, we would still make sure we get what we need to do done. So let me try and see if Dr. Ekremet, please, you can go on.
Okay, Dr. Pariloko, yeah. So I think that well, depending on where you live, you may have a playground or not. I like the fact that EPP has a playground is close to me, even though it's nowadays it looks like it's been a bit run down. But so we go buy books. Sometimes they're able to play for an hour, 2 hours, and we get both done at the same time. And sometimes even Sunday after church. So would have finished homework and everything on Saturday, then we can have that break and let them play. ANC Mall has a playground. So for those who live around that area, I'm sure there are other places that if we search online, because play it's important. It's important because these comments, I mean, some of us, my brother and things used to walk long distances to another person's place to go and play Mortal Kombat. You would exercise before you got there to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, after that, they are walking back to go and play small poles, and we're also standing there doing chaskilling. But it's like everybody, so at least if there's a playground or something around, let's let the children enjoy that. It's good for their physical health as well. They get to jump around and everything and interact. Sometimes they make friends even at the playground when they go. Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, currently all we can do is finding things out. There's no one size fits all, just as Dr. Ekremet has earlier mentioned. So if there's nothing like a one size fits all, we'll still be learning how best to support our children in whichever way we can and at whichever point that we need to. Emmanuel says that it is true that parents can allow their children to play with others, but the word is somehow unsafe. The world is somehow unsafe now than it used to be. Unfortunately, there are no playgrounds in our communities to allow our children to play with. This is very important to our community. This is very important for our community leaders to start thinking about. Yeah. But in the end, Emmanuel, we'll still find ways and means. Our community leaders will also do their own. We will do our small one that we can do in our own small corners, and then we'll keep going on. And thank you for sharing that with us. So, as the links have also been posted in our YouTube channel, it means at least there's a balance in here. I would like to also bring to your attention that there is a webinar that we would be having on the 1st of June. It's about your back, your spine, and your postures. You remember when Dr. Ekremet was speaking, she mentioned about the turkey neck, and you know the neck, the spine, and all that's our back, and how we sit, the postures, and all the effects that it tends to have on each other. We would like to show the flyer so you get to have a look at it. It's on the topic is actually your spine, your back, and postures. So Godi, kindly help us have that flyer so everyone gets to see it and gets to know it, where you can be a part of this webinar. It's going to be held on the 1st of June at 6:30 p.m. And it's a collaboration that Mission Pediatrics is having together with Liana, CSR, and then with Mr. Emmanuel Kweku Otu. He is the CEO and lead physiotherapist at the Physio Specialist Clinic. He would be helping us understand our spine, our back, and our postures. Please do not forget to make a date with us on the 1st of June at 6:30 p.m. so that you can get to learn more. And for those who were asking about the slides, the webinar, this particular webinar, I would say it again. It is on our YouTube channel, the Parent Professional Connect. Parent Professional Connect. We are using the same title in YouTube so that you would be able to have access to everything that we do. So when you go on YouTube, Parent Professional Connect, just type it in the search button on YouTube, and you would have access to this particular webinar and the others that we've had in times past. Please do go over it. Do watch again. It would help you pick up something that you may have missed here today. Let's help others get to learn by sharing the link with them. Let them also get to pick some tidbits on it. Let them interact. And don't forget to subscribe to our page so that whenever there is something new or we post any of our videos, please, you can have access to it. This is something that we do on the fourth Sunday of every month. And as mentioned last month, during our Autism Awareness Month with our fathers, the father's perspective, we mentioned that next month we would be going to SSS or Albert Haven. So please, when we start asking in our community page as to who would like to join, please let us get our numbers. Help us, or tell someone to tell someone. If you are not on our community page, you can join us, because on that platform, on our WhatsApp community page, we tend to share information. We tend to help people get to learn more. We tend to give you access to everything that Mission Pediatrics does. We do this because we want you to be able to learn more. We want you to be equipped with information. Yes, there are several things out there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they may be the right information. So please, if you would want something that is credible, you can join our WhatsApp community page so that you can have access to all of this. Okay, And I must say that I have seen a whole lot of people here. Dr. Adam, thank you for joining. Oh, we can see you.
Thank
And
you, Dr.
Dr. Sefa, thank you
for
too for joining us on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. We appreciate the fact that you are here. And thank you, James, for also subscribing and loving what we do. We appreciate the fact that you always make the time to join us on the fourth Sunday of every month. And to our psychology team, the whole squad is here today, and I am happy. And I'm sorry, not the psychology, the psychiatry team. We have we have them here. And that's how come I can see Dr. Sifa on our YouTube channel, although this place got she's still joined on our YouTube. Dr. Ekremet is here. Dr. Adum is also here. We are grateful to everyone who was able to join also. And most especially to Dr. Ekremet. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to prepare this, helping our participants, whether here on Zoom or on our YouTube, where we had over 260 people joining. We appreciate the fact that you all made time to be a part of this. Thank you so much. Please, next month we are going to Albert Haven. And yes, remember when Dr. Ekremet mentioned that play-based therapy and all that? We'll be having all that fun there. Do make a date with us. And when our flyer comes out, make sure you sign on. Make sure you meet us there. Even if you don't join us by bus, you join us there at Albert Haven so we can all get to enjoy that serene environment. Remember when Dr. Ekremet was talking about helping kids to detach themselves from things? Lots of activities are going to go on over there. Please do make a date with us during that time. If you need any information, you can join us on our WhatsApp community page, as earlier mentioned. Get to ask us all the questions that you have and get to have all these free consults that you have gotten for almost 2 hours. Thank you all for being a part of us. Hope to see you at a successor on in next month. Have a good week. Bye, everyone.
bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you.